We welcome you in, Eagles everywhere, to our weekly one-on-one with head coach Nick Sirianni, presented by Wawa. I'm Eagles Insider Dave Spadaro. Eagles getting ready for the Tennessee Titans, 1 o'clock on Sunday at Lincoln Financial Field. And Coach, let's start with the red zone. The offense leads the league in red zone touchdown percentage. Things work really well down there for you. What is the philosophy? How do you attack? Why does it work?
Yeah, I think really and anything you think about is about your players, right? And so in this particular case, it's not any different than in the field. You're always thinking about what your players do well, and you're trying to put them in positions to make plays. And so we have a great offensive line, and we have great running backs. We got Jalen, and then we have great receivers to be able to be multiple down there and be able to run it in and be able to pass it in. I think when you're one-dimensional down there, it's hard, but when you're able to get it in multiple ways, then you got a lot to defend.
There's an emphasis, right? Like you meet and say, hey, this is our game plan playbook for this week.
Yeah, of course. The field, everything, you're trying to identify everything in the game that requires a different set of a different mindset or a different philosophy or a different game plan. And so you do that on third down, obviously. You do that in the red zone. You do that in different sections of the red zone. You do that in 2 minute, you do that in 4 minute, you do that in backed up. So you're breaking the game down into sections because we know we have tendencies down there, but they also have tendencies down there. Every team that you play has tendencies down there. So it's just being specific in that part of the field, situational football, and we've done a good job of that so far this year.
Sunday night against the Packers, Mike Tirico, Chris Collingsworth were having an interesting conversation in the booth about the benefits, perhaps, of a multi-dimensional quarterback, a quarterback who has mobility. Does today's game lend itself to having that kind of quarterback? Is it an advantage to have a quarterback like Jalen who can move around?
Well, most definitely. It's the same thing, right? If you got a guy that can only stay in the pocket, then you can do some things to dictate him, and affect the game that way. If you got a guy that can only get outside of the pocket and make plays moving around, then you can affect him too. But when you have that ability to do both, of course, it's the same thing. The same thing we talked about in the red zone. You have the ability to do both. It's tough for the defense to defend. And so I think that's what you're seeing more and more across the NFL are guys that can make plays with their arm and guys that can make plays with their feet. Aaron Rodgers probably an early guy that did a lot of that, Patrick Mahomes, and we're lucky we got a guy with Jalen Hurts that's doing the same thing and following that same mold.
Interesting mindset on this football team. Little things or even significant things don't seem to hinder the football team. Example, A.J. Brown has a fumble on Sunday night, goes back to the bench, slams his helmet down, gets right back in the game and scores a touchdown a short time later. Is that the kind of mindset that separates the good ones from the great ones in this league?
I think so, and that speaks to the character of the guys that we have on this team. We have great guys on this team. We not only have great football players, we have great men on this team that are able to stay in the moment, right? And there's stay in the moment, forget the past, and move on to the next play. And we talk a lot about that with dog mentality. You got to be able to be very short-sighted with what's happened in the past and focus on only the things that you can control. And I think that's what AJ's mindset was just, hey, I can't affect what happened last. I can change my habits of what I did off the last play so it doesn't happen again, but I can't change the fact that it happened. How am I going to go out there and make a play to change this game in a positive way? And I think he did that with a couple of catches they had after that, and then also the touchdown that he had after that.
Nick, we're 2 games into Ndamukong Suh, Linval Joseph being here. I want to get your thoughts on how you think they fit into the culture of the locker room and to the football team. And then Sunday, it's Derrick Henry. The King comes to Philadelphia. Is this the kind of game where players like that really pump up and say, hey, I'm looking forward to this challenge?
Yeah, first of all, they fit in great to this culture. Again, they're good people, right? And they're good people that know what it takes to win and know what it takes to get to the top. Why does it mesh well, right? Because they have a common interest that the players that are here already have, right? Which is we're going to do everything we can do to get ready for this week, and we love football and we care about football. So you bring in guys like those 2 guys that love football, that have the same common goals and interests as the guys that are here, it's going to mesh well. And so they fit in tremendously in the locker room. They've helped us tremendously on the field. And going against a tough opponent like the Tennessee Titans, they're a physical they're a physical team. They're a really physical team. And, we're physical too. And these guys just add to that physicality because they've been doing that the way they've been playing with that tough-nosed football. They've been doing it for a long time, and it just adds depth and layers to the physicality that we already had on this team, and they just add to it.
Good segue then. You talked earlier in the week about Tennessee's defense and how physical they are. Is that kind of the key to their success in recent years, just the physical play?
I think that's one of them. I think they're really well coached. I think Mike Vrabel is an excellent football coach, and I think what he does is he doesn't let their team screw it up. He makes sure they're disciplined, and they're going to make you go the long roads to beat them and not give you things, right? They play somewhat mistake-free. We all have mistakes as we go through, but it feels like that's kind of how they are, and it's knowing them a little bit probably more than others because being in the division not too long ago, they're showing the same things that they showed when I was in that division with them, and they're just a sound, well-coached football team that plays physical and tough.
You mentioned many times how physical the Eagles are. I wonder if people out there appreciate that and really look at the Eagles that way.
Yeah, we pride ourselves in that, and I think, when you run for 350 yards, I think that people take notice to that. That's what we know our identity is. I think we're fast, we're physical, and we're for each other. We talk about that a lot as a group, and we call it the 3 Fs.
No, close.
Even though,
Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Physical.
Philadelphia
Same
doesn't start with an F?
You're 10-1. It can start with whatever you want it to start with. Coach Sirianni, thanks so much for joining us. Our weekly one-on-one with Head Coach Nick Sirianni, presented by Wawa. Thanks for joining.